What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Swagcast. Today we have an incredible guest, a UFC fighter with a pro record of 10-4, and the world's best bartender, Garrett Armfield. What's going on, Garrett? How are we doing today?
Fricket, what's up? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm not the world's best bartender. I'm actually kind of a trash bartender. But I gotta be honest with you because wherever I bartend at, we don't really make drinks like we like pre-batch them. If you don't know what that means, like pre-batch means like you just make them ahead of time, and then
Yeah.
like I just pour it in a fucking cup of ice and shake it around. I'm gonna be honest. It's not actual bartending. I really don't think so. Unless somebody like wants me to make some like Mexican candy shot or something. Then they have a book that I just follow the recipe. But uh, I'm gonna be honest, I served tables for like 7 years and they never let me become a bartender. I don't know why. I think it was like an inside thing. Fuck them. But now that I am a bartender, I'm not actually like bartending, but uh, it's not too bad.
You know what it is? Because I was in the industry for about 6 years, and I was a busboy for one. That I became a waiter and a bartender, and it's like if you're not it, like they don't let dudes bartend at first. Like they really make you have to like prove your point of like being like good with service and like good with all of that. And like I never pre-batch drinks. We always had like rich, clientele, so it was always like gin
Oh,
martinis and like margaritas and stuff like that. But I'm glad we got right into this because this is what I wanted to start with. I wanted to start with a bang because in the restaurant industry, it's full of partying and sex and drugs and outside of
you
out
say you,
outside
you
of the
just said
service part.
the restaurants industry is full of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I
That's it.
don't know
That's
what type of restaurant you're working at, bro. I think you're working at a strip club, or you're
uh
working. What
that
city you in?
Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, I'm sure you gotta get a little fucking weird up there.
Uh, are
You
you from
fucking
Florida?
you Rhode
That's
Island
weird
books.
as crazy. All right,
I'm
so
gonna be honest. So actually, I can't. So like, I worked in South Florida. That's
okay.
where I served most of my time at. Well, back that up. My first serving job was goddamn Cracker Barrel, and that was like 2016 to
Mm-hmm.
2019, and then I moved to Florida, and yeah, dude, it was just serving rich people. I wouldn't really say there was like a lot of bunch of sex and drugs. I'm sure I could have gotten into that if I didn't have fighting. I'm sure I could have found my way, but I stayed kind of to myself and just kind of worked, and then I didn't really become friends with people I worked with. Like, yeah, I was like cool with them, but like um I didn't really ever hang out with them because like I always just like had fights coming up, and I always had to train, and like so I never really got to take advantage of the whole sex and drugs part of being a bartender or server or whatever.
As we see with Conor McGregor, there's a sex and drugs part with fighting too. But so I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Nah,
So
I'm not at that level yet. I don't know if I want to get to that level.
you'll get there. You'll get there. No, I'm kidding. So now getting into MMA, so clearly you were already into this during 2016, but when did you really like start diving deep into it? Now I've interviewed so many fighters, and I've interviewed older guys and I've interviewed younger guys, and a guy like Tim Elliott told me that like he started straight with just like striking, but a guy like Micah White told me that like he did everything from the start of a young age. So where did you really fall into like the evolution of MMA?
Yeah, like let's see. It's a long story. I guess I've been fighting my entire life, so I actually started with martial arts when I was like 4. So like I did karate with all my family. Actually, all my family were black belts in karate. Shit, you not. There's 7 of us. We're fucking fighting over the last chicken finger or something like that at the table. uh no, we all did it together, and they would like put little clippings of us in like the local newspaper. They called it the Eureka Current. I grew up in Eureka, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and actually, I was like one of those 11-year-old black belts, man, that like had a bowl cut, and like I probably couldn't fight. I could still fight then. I was like when I was different. Okay, so they had this karate gym was owned by kickboxers as well, and so like they had a kickboxing class on the side, and then I would be taking the karate classes. It's like Tuesday, Thursday night was the kickboxing classes, and my brother with his friends were doing the kickboxing on the side. And like everybody wants to be like their older brother, and so I was like, oh, 100%, like I want to do this. So I was like 8 years old when I got my first pair of boxing gloves, and I had my first kickboxing match at like age 9 or 8. It was like an exhibition or whatever. So I don't know a life without fighting, and I don't think I do, and that's fine with me. I love this life I got to pay for myself, and that's kind of just how I got into the fighting. Um, and so like I've like always had dreams of being like a world champion. Like I didn't really know what it was at that young age. I just always like dreamed myself like being just having a belt, even though I would like dream myself being 16 at 11 with the belt or something like along those lines. But when I really started to like kind of like conceptualize and get to the point where I know this is where like this is the choice I have to make if I really want to become a professional fighter. And I was about 19, 20 years old, and I was sitting there in college. I went to Missouri State,
Hmm.
and I picked up this book called Relentless, and it's a great book. But I remember I read that book, and I love reading, so I got that book, and I got a Conor McGregor book, The Notorious, and I read those like back to back. And at that point, I was training once a day, and I was like 6-1 as an amateur fighter, and I hadn't turned professional yet. And then I read those books, and then after that, I was like, oh shit, like I'm not doing everything I possibly can. So they had 6 a.m. training classes at Springfield Fight Club in Springfield, Missouri. And like it was either 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. Like they didn't have like you couldn't train at 9 a.m. And if I could, I would still have to go to class and do all those things. So then I like read those books and it just something flipped in me. And I just started making it a point to go to every single class and being like the hardest worker in the room. Like I started skipping class to go train and said, fuck college, man. I don't want to go sit in an office to do fucking anything. Like that's not me. I don't want to be told what to do. I want to be the creator of my own fucking destiny. And so I just started busting my ass there. And shit, man, I made my pro debut in 2018, and then I moved out to Florida, and just damn, it was a really long road to get to the point where I'm at right now. And I feel like I'm just getting started. Um, I feel like my career in the UFC just started, which is awesome. So I'm trying to take advantage of every opportunity I can to get my name out there. So, yeah, that was kind of like a long response to your simple question.
No, I
But
love it. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So now you start training with the family at a young age. You move into training with the college, and now you move down to Florida. What's the current training situation look like?
so I moved to Kansas City about a year and a couple months now. That's actually a pretty funny story how I got here too. Uh, I was training at Killcliff in Florida and wasn't a bad gym. It was great, loved it, great time of my life. I was there for 4 years, but I kind of got to the point where I knew that I needed a switch up. I needed to make a change, and I was actually serving tables at this restaurant down there. And my high school, we weren't high school sweethearts, but this girl I've been like obsessed with since I was like in middle school. She was like my best friend during all this time. Um, we like kind of like were connecting and stuff, and like we would hook up when I'd come in town and whatnot. And she came down to Florida at the restaurant. Her best friend just so happened to live in the same town as I did. Super small world. She came to me and she was like, Garrett, she's like, I want you to be with me. So you should just like leave Florida and come be with me in Kansas City. And so I was like, sure. And I was like, sure, let's see what's in Kansas City, I guess. So I messaged my manager first and was like, hey, are there any MMA gyms in Kansas City now that Glory kind of imploded with the whole James Krause betting scandal, you know?
Hmm. Okay.
And I kind of thought it was like a no man's land here now. But he's like, hey, there's this guy named Trey Ogden.
Mm.
You should go check him out. And at this time, Trey Ogden like didn't have any UFC fighters. She was the only UFC fighter was himself, and like he hadn't fought under his own brand yet
Hmm.
because it was Glory Overland Park, and they changed it to Marathon MMA after all that went down.
Yes.
And so he said he was a hell of a coach. So I was like, fuck it, I'ma go. I
Hmm.
went, trained there for 2 months, maybe a month. I was there, and I got an offer to go fight in Singapore. And at the time, Miles Johns was already training there. So it was Miles Johns and Trey and Mike Breeden and I and a couple of other guys. And he was like, "Man, do you want to go fight in Singapore?" My manager hit me up, said, "Ask me if I want to go fight in Singapore." Like, sure. Screw it. We almost said no to the matchup because it was in Singapore. And Trey was like, "Oh, you could go fight in Vegas, it's way easier." Take the fight, first shot knockout, and that kind of started everything else. Uh, so
That's
kudos to my current girlfriend. She kind of got me to this point. So mad ups to her.
absolutely. Shout out to her. So now this fight that you're talking about in Singapore, that's your second UFC fight, right? That was
My
after the.
second.
So now in 2022, you make your UFC debut, and you end up losing, but you take an entire year off, and you win in first round KO fashion, like you just said. Can you kind of like was moving to Kansas City that entire year pretty much, and like kind of going about it in that?
No, so actually, while I was in Florida, I had two matchups that fell through.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, I got a nasty skin infection that I had to go to the hospital over. So I didn't fight then. I was supposed to fight Christian Rodriguez then, whenever he was still making bantamweight, trying to make bantamweight at least. And then the second one was against Jose Johnson, who doesn't even fight in bantamweight anymore. The 6 foot dude decides he can make flyweight and makes it. Another story. But yeah, so those were two fights that fell through while I was there. And man, it was like fighting became a job while I was there. Like it wasn't like so much a passion anymore. It was kind of like a stressor. I wasn't enjoying the process anymore, and like I was not enjoying practicing. I was like, fuck, I gotta go practice, and like that's not me. Like I love to train. It's the only thing I want to do. And so yeah. And so I think those like all that happened for a reason that I just needed to find a new home and like kind of reevaluate my spirit and kind of get with the new team. But no, I had moved to Kansas City on Cinco de Mayo of 2023. So May 5th of 2023 for all the English listeners out there. Um, and I got the fight offer for August in
Mm-hmm.
2023. So I was only in Kansas City for like 2 months before I was in Asia fighting. So uh, yeah.
That was the Max Holloway versus Zombie card, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I got the poster up on the wall actually. It's like my
That
favorite poster I got.
that must have been an insane card to fight on, just because of all the awesome.
Yeah, it was.
So
It was
how?
cool going to Asia. I want to go back because like fuck that trip. It was like 16 hours on a plane. You get off the plane and you're like 20 pounds heavy because all the salt. Oh,
That's actually what I want
man.
to ask. Like there so many times we see American fighters now go over to places that are so far away now. Like how do you deal with the trip? How do you deal with the weight cut over there? Do you go a couple weeks early? And like how do you adjust to the time zone?
Yeah, I went 10 days early. So Evan Elder, UFC lightweight, came with me. We went 10 days early so I could get adjusted to the time. And oh my gosh, because like you don't check into the UFC hotel until Tuesday. So I got like 5 days while I'm there to figure my shit out and try to figure out what to eat, where to eat food, how to get around. And like luckily Singapore is a little bit uh like Americanized in a way, like touristy. So there's like everybody's Asian, but like most people speak English.
Yeah.
And dude, I just remember like sitting there in this area called Little India, which it's India, like the India section of Singapore,
Uh-huh.
like sitting there, like going around the city all day with Evan, trying to figure out how the fuck we're gonna eat food according to my diet. And it was the hardest fucking thing because fucking don't know what's in the food. I just was so lost. And I'm sitting there in Little India starving my fucking brains out, like fucking pissed off. And I'm like looking at Evan, I'm like, I can't lose this weight. What the fuck are we gonna do? And so I think we ended up ordering some like weird ass chicken stuff from some random ass Grubhub. I don't know. But the entire experience was awesome once I got onto the resort and kind of got in the UFC, kind of started giving me my food and helping me out with all that stuff. So it went smoothly. Um, but yeah, I definitely am glad I took that fight because it was a lot of experience, and now I kind of know what to do with the next time I go out of the country. Um, much more prepared now.
So would you want to fight out of the country again, like versus like fighting in America?
Yeah, I would. I mean, honestly, I don't really like to fight in Vegas. I mean, for one, I'm 0-2 at the fucking Apex. Hate the Apex, but I like to go out and see the world. I've been to Vegas so many times now just because all my teammates are fighting and stuff, and it's hot as balls, and it's like just kind of the same thing over and over again.
Vegas
But
is hot.
like going to Canada and going to Singapore are great opportunities. So I mean, it'd be kind of cool if I got an offer to go fight September 28th in Paris. That'd be pretty badass. Even though I heard Paris is kind of a dump.
No, I've heard Paris is a dump too. And you said it. So while we're on it, the UFC Apex, would you just rather they just completely get rid of doing any events in the Apex ever again? Because a lot of fighters hate it. The cage is smaller. You can't really stuff a lot of fans in there. How do you feel about it?
It's like I'm like on the fence with it because it's a cool little like I don't know because when you're there it feels like you're in like the UFC video game because everything says UFC and it's like a whole like part of the journey where like you go through the apex and I'm glad I got to experience that. But with that being said, man, I come out here to put on exciting fights and fight in front of the fans and build my brand and interact with people. So like I want to go see the world. I want to go fight in stadiums across the country. The Apex is cool, but shit, man, like there's something different about the crowd and just like it's just like an exhilarating experience, man. It's like the Apex is cool, but and like once you fight outside the Apex and you go fight in the Apex, for one, the Apex is way less intimidating than like like a stadium full of people. But at the same time, I don't know, man. I'm a big stadium guy. I like the fights in the stadiums, and I think every fighter could say that. And I do like the bigger cage too, because just how my style works. I do like to create my own space, and that apex is real small, man. You take two steps back, and you're already on the cage. So,
Mm. Yeah, no, it's definitely probably tough to fight the way you fight in the smaller environment. So now we're in 2024 and you've already fought twice. You lost the last one, but what do you feel has to be done next to kind of meet your goals?
man, just take another fight and get another win.
Mm-hmm.
You're you're only as good as your last fight. And I truly believe that I wasn't able to show my best self. I don't know. I just didn't feel like myself in that fight. And maybe it's because Brady's game plan was just better than our game plan, and I didn't adjust on the fly. And that's all right. We all learn in this game. I do still believe that I'm the better fighter. He just had the better fight that night. Um, I know if I rematched him, I would beat him 100%. I know how I would have to fight him now. Um, and you know but we move on to the next one and we just try to get better. What I want to do is honestly I want to fight two more times this year. I got enough time to do it. If I fight in October and get a good finish, I can turn around and fight in December. So that's always the plan. um you know I'm here to fight wherever against whoever. It doesn't really matter. I did get offered a short notice fight a couple weeks ago, but I actually had a family emergency. I was actually out of town for 2 weeks. My father, he's okay now, but my father did have a heart attack. He's fine, but I was out of the gym for a couple weeks, and so I actually had to turn down that short notice fight. But now that I'm back to full training and everything's great, I'm ready to go out there and get my next one.
Probably wondering how does Swaggy stay so energized for these weekly podcasts. Well, here's how I do it: by drinking Don't Lag coffee, and you can get your own Don't Lag coffee right now with my 10% off code. Use Swaggy at don'tlagcoffee.com. That's use Swaggy at don'tlagcoffee.com for 10% off. Now let's get right back into the episode. The one thing I actually loved about your last fight, you posted DMs between you and Brady, like right after the fight, kind of showing like a friendly conversation, like after the loss. Do you do that with a lot of your opponents? Do you kind of talk to them after the fights?
No, not at all. But not at all. I don't know. Like I mean, like David Onam and I are cool just because we're both from the Kansas City area.
Uh,
So like we've known each other. We've actually fought back in 2018. I really don't really talk to my opponents after. Um, but yeah, I was just pissed. I was like, fuck, I fucking lost. And I see him post, and I was like, damn it, Brady, fucking got me. Fuck. And yes, I usually don't talk to them. I usually always try to talk to them before the fight, just because it humanizes your opponent. Because you build these guys up in your brain for weeks on end, and then once you see them in person, it kind of takes that like it humanizes them again, like I just said. But um, Brady was also like the coolest one to talk to. Uh, he's a chill guy. He's nice, you know.
yeah.
He's a really nice guy. Like Brad Katona didn't really want to fucking talk to me before or after the fight. Because I probably got beat his bitch ass. Yeah. And then Toshiomi Kazama. I mean, there's like a language barrier there,
Yeah,
but I
understandable.
did give him a little fist bump before the fight, and so yeah.
So, yeah, you talk to him with the fist bump. So now, what are your ultimate goals in the UFC?
My ultimate goals are first and foremost to be a champion, um, and that's in all walks of life. That's not just with fighting. I just want to be a champion on the day-to-day endeavors. Um, but my number one goal in fighting is to be the best in the world and then build my brand and then make money off of my brand in other ways. So kind of like still building on that, trying to figure out what I want to do and who I want to be and who I want to represent. I think honestly that's like a lot of the hardest part about being a fighter. You know, fighting's the easiest part. Building the brand is the hardest part, man. So that's yeah, that's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just connect with fans out there and get my name out there to as many people as I can in this world and just give back and help. I want to make a difference. I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered as someone that wants to help and give back to those that haven't had a fair shake in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're doing a great job at building the brand. We'll get to that in 1 second. But so are there any current fights that you're currently looking at, or since you're on a loss, do you just want to like take whatever's offered?
There's a couple guys that usually how the UFC works with their matchmaking, so people that don't know is that if you're coming off a win, you'll get matched with somebody coming off a win. So if you're coming off a loss, most of the time you're coming off getting matched with somebody that comes off a loss.
Hmm.
So there's a couple of names out there that we've been kind of looking towards. I really wanted to fight Gaston Bolonis because I feel like I matched up great against him, and he's got a good name. But apparently he's already booked. And the UFC did try to book that fight in October of 2023, and I said yes, and they said no. I don't know. They just didn't take the fight. So yeah, yeah, man. So just I like anybody. I really got no like specific names in mind, but Cameron Saman, I like that fight. I feel like I match up well against him as well. So uh, just kind of these guys that it's how it works. I'm trying to like make the UFC's job easier. So I find a guy that's coming off a loss, and I send a bunch of them to my manager, and he's supposed to let me know here in a couple weeks. So hopefully we got something in the books.
Yeah, hopefully, and hopefully you get a call for Paris, even though it is a dump. So now I want to get into now your trolling on Twitter off rip immediately because I feel like Twitter you post jokes about it all the time too, like the differences between you on Twitter and on Instagram, and like I think that's for one hilarious. But one thing that you did that I feel like is notorious is like for like 43 days straight, you posted pictures of your head just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and saying, "Yo, Dana White, I'm gonna continue making my head bigger till you follow me." Did Dana ever follow you?
No, he did
Dana
not.
didn't follow
Damn
you.
it, Dana, Dana. No, he
That's
did not.
that's got to be your
Uh,
next post fight interview. You gotta call him out. You gotta be like, "Dana, where the fuck's my Twitter
Dana,
follow?"
Dana, my head can only get so big. Follow me. You know what's crazy is that like I actually have had quite a few tweets that I've gotten like 5,000 likes on it and like 300,000 views or something on it. And nobody wants to fucking follow me on that stuff. Like I'll keep posting banger tweets. I got some good ass tweets. Not gonna lie, I'm the fucking meme king of MMA, and I be getting hella fucking likes and tweets on my stuff, but nobody wants to follow until I'm like, oh, who wants a free hat? Next thing you know, I got 1,000. I literally doubled my following from offering a free hat. I'm like, all right, guys, I see how it is now. You guys just want free shit. That's the only
that
thing what people want. It's free shit. So
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, that's actually how I finally got you to look at my DMs. You know, I was like, I'm not here for the fucking giveaways. I'm here for an interview.
hell
But
yeah, 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 yeah.
but you know,
I did take a little bit.
having
I usually do quite a few podcasts. And I usually try to get on mics and talk to people, but I did take a couple weeks off. Uh, kind of like refocus, reevaluate.
yeah, no, you're a busy guy. I understand. So now you're doing the giveaways, and also another trolling moment that I absolutely loved. UFC 5 announced that they were doing alter ego votes,
Ah, Garrett Field.
and you kept posting you without arms.
Yeah, I think I got like a different. I got like I could do like a play on word with my last name. I don't know if you saw my last shirt, but it's a shirt that is sleeveless and it says Field, and
Yeah,
so it's got like arm and then Field. Fuck yeah,
yeah.
fucking running with it. Garrett Field. They put me in the video game, EA, UFC. Garrett Field, throw me in there.
They're a little late on putting a lot of fighters in the game. Do you play UFC
Yeah.
5?
What?
Do you play UFC 5?
No, I don't. Actually, I don't like play too many video games, but if I do play, I do mess around with Far Cry.
Oh, okay, all right. So you're a Far Cry guy. All right. So now I want to get back to you. You just dropped merch, a brand new merch drop, and you even just mentioned it. Has that been growing a lot? Has you been getting a lot of sales doing that? Has kind of like the whole memeing thing worked for you?
The whole what thing?
The memeing thing.
I would say that it's definitely helped grow like my following across all platforms, and in that way, uh, it's just a way that I get it to grow, and then that helps my product and brand get out to more people, obviously. But yeah, yeah. I'll get a couple sales every now and then. It's not something like I'm like getting sales every day or like every week, but it's a monthly thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it always feels super good when somebody does buy my merchandise. It's really cool. But like I said, I'm only 4 fights into my career. I know the more fights I have and the more mic time I get, the more sales that will come to that. I
Yeah. No.
think a lot of these guys on the mic in the UFC, I think a lot of them, I don't think you're supposed to think about it too much, but just like let your personality come out. And I think a lot of people, what it is that they're kind of worried about what people think about them a little too much. I think if you're just yourself and you don't care what people are gonna say, uh, I think that helps the most. Especially like a lot of people are afraid to interact on Twitter and Reddit because they don't like to get all the hate that they get. But every single time somebody says some shitty thing about me, I usually message them back and I just get a reply. I DM them and be like, "Oh, what's up, man? How you doing?" And usually their anger goes away, and then that's a new fan. People just want to be interacted with, I feel like, on those platforms. So,
So like when you, what about like somebody like Jamal Hill, who when he gets hate on his social media, he starts offering 25K for anybody come to his gym and get beat up, which I wanted to do. I love Jamal Hill, and I was just gonna shoot for my life and hope for the best. I was gonna pray and hope for the best. That's 25K. However, I didn't get around to it. Would you ever see yourself doing something like that?
oh, I'm gonna be honest, I think Jamal Hill's a little bit of a crybaby on social media. I think he like, yeah. Now that's not my speed, bro. That's not my speed. I ain't gonna try to fight anybody. If anything, we can sit down and talk about how we're gonna make $1 million. But other than that, like if you want to come to the gym and fight me, bro, like my fucking that's how I make my money is the fighting part. You know, that's my biggest return on my investment so far is all the time I put into my fighting. It makes me the most money. And so I would say, nah, I ain't paying anybody to come fight me, bro. If you want to fight me, I don't know. Fuck that. You gotta pay me to fight. Like, screw that shit. Unless David Goggins wants to come get these hands.
Wait, you don't like David Goggins either? Sean Strickland and him have been beefing.
No, I love David Goggins actually, but he can get it. Everybody can get it. Uh, no, you see that stuff with Sean Strickland and Chris Curtis?
Yeah, I was just looking at that today.
What?
I was looking at it,
I
and
can never imagine doing that to Miles. Be like if
nah,
Miles and I first off never get into arguments or anything. Miles is my dog. I fucking love Miles and Trey. But could you imagine being like, oh, yeah, sorry, we got in a little shoving match at the gym. Our feelings got hurt. I'm gonna block you on social media and then I'm gonna go post it. What? Dude, just keep that shit out of the gym. Like that's kind of like I don't know if that's like a joke thing. I got a feeling that's like a joke. That's like just like a viral grab that they're trying to do.
maybe they're trying to. Yeah, I
Like
said
creating
that
drama out of nowhere.
exactly. I said that too. They could be trying to sell a fight between each other, or they could be like selling a card that they're on together. I don't know. Like they could be doing something weird there, or like trying to like revamp their podcast in some kind of way because they did have a podcast together for a little bit. I still don't
I can
understand
see
why they're
that. You know,
beefing.
honestly, like, yeah, grown ass men that are UFC fighters, they ain't gonna go to Twitter and block you and then start bitching about it on Twitter. Like, that's not how we interact.
Nah, every fighter I've interacted with, even anybody that trains I've interacted with because I'm a very avid jiu-jitsu goer, but everybody's pretty chill, cool. There's ever never any beef. So I can't see two they were like best friends at one point. They trained together every
I'm sure
single
they
day.
still are. They train with each other every day. Like they corner each other. I'm sure. I think it's just like an all. I think it's a viral grab. I think they're just trying to get people to click.
Yeah, nah, I mean, people are clicking. So it's a good
People
way
are
to do
clicking.
so.
So respect to them because people are clicking.
Absolutely. Well, so as we get closer and closer to the end, is there anything you want to plug currently? Any new shows, any merch drops, anything like that?
Um, no, man, you guys just keep following my Twitter. It's right there. I see it right there. Keep on my social media, bro. Staying tuned for merchandise drops. I do a lot of giveaways. I don't try to sell any of my UFC like stuff, my fight week gear. I just give it away because shit, like they give it for me to free. I'm gonna give it back to free. Like what you put out into this world is what you take in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, man, just follow my social medias, and keep up to date with my fight news. I hope we have a fight coming soon. Um, and yeah, hashtag Armfield Army.
So that's a beautiful hashtag. So do you ever
Thanks,
see
bro.
yourself moving into like different kind of content before we end, like different kind of videos or shorts or anything like that?
Like porn?
Not porn, not an OnlyFans. Oh, you could do like an Only Arms. Another
Oh,
another play, yeah, where it's just like pictures of your arms. I
I I could do that. Or like
that
a
would
yeah.
that would be
I could go find a field and take a picture of my arm in a field. God, now we're plugging. Now we're
we're
fucking
we're cooking. From an
yeah, fuck
earlier
yeah.
conversation to make $1 million. I think we just did it. So go follow Mr. Armfield on everything. Make sure you smash the follow button. We do post brand new episodes every single week on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, anywhere you get your
Oh,
podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow. We will see y'all next week. Peace.